Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're throwing it back to a match that didn't just decide a tournament, it literally defined an entire era of football. Picture this: July 19th, 2026. You've got over 80,000 screaming fans packing MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and millions more glued to their screens worldwide as the absolute, undisputed heavyweights of international football collide in a truly historic World Cup final.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The big question we're looking at today is as old as sports itself. How exactly does a reigning footballing empire finally fall? Because, look, this match wasn't just about who got to lift the trophy, it was a massive generational shift. We're talking about the fading light of a legendary South American dynasty running headfirst into the dawn of a terrifyingly brilliant European superpower. Section 1. The Ultimate World Cup Clash. Let's talk about the colossal stakes here, because the historical weight on both of these sides was just staggering. On one side, you've got Argentina, right? The reigning champs. They were desperately chasing immortality, trying to become the first team to win back-to-back World Cups since Pele's Brazil did it way back in 1958 and 62. And on the flip side, Spain was going for something equally wild. They were looking to become the first nation in history to hold both the men's and women's World Cup titles at the exact same time, since they already won the women's tournament back in 2023. And if you really want to grasp the sheer, unstoppable momentum this Spanish side had going into the final, just look at this number, 38. That is the number of consecutive matches Spain had gone unbeaten in regular time leading up to this final. 38. They hadn't lost a match since a friendly against Colombia in March of 2024. I mean, they completely obliterated the European record that Italy used to hold. Moving on to Section 2, Messi's historic final stand. 34. That is the monumental, record-shattering number of World Cup appearances Lionel Messi reached the second he stepped onto the pitch at MetLife Stadium. Across 6 totally distinct editions of the tournament, starting all the way back as a teenager in 2006, Messi has played more World Cup matches than anyone else in history. And these milestones, they just prove that Messi had entirely rewritten the World Cup record books before the referee even blew the opening whistle. Think about it. At 39 years old, he became the oldest outfield player to ever appear in a final, snapping a record from 1958. He bagged a record 23 World Cup victories. He had this insane streak of scoring in 9 consecutive World Cup matches. And actually, he remains the only player to score in every traditional stage of the tournament, plus that newly introduced round of 32. But, every king eventually meets a challenger. And here we see the stark generational contrast that totally defined this final. You've got a 39-year-old Lionel Messi, the outgoing maestro, going head-to-head with Lamine Yamal, Spain's 19-year-old incoming prodigy. 2 distinct eras of football, separated by exactly 2 decades, clashing on the exact same pitch. Section 3. A tactical chess match. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the match unfolded. Look at these possession numbers. 65% for Spain, compared to just 35% for Argentina. Spain literally suffocated the reigning champions. Argentina set up in this incredibly resolute, heavily organized 4-4-2 defensive block, totally ready to sit deep. But Spain, playing a style that is just built on absolute control, barely gave Argentina a sniff of the ball. Seriously, Argentina didn't manage a single attempt on goal in regular time. Not one. So what does this all mean? How did Spain actually use that massive possession advantage? Well, the micro-narrative of their tactical masterclass breaks down like a giant puzzle. Spain essentially picked the Argentine lock by creating a central overload. First, striker Mikel Oyarzabal would drop deep from the front line. Then, Fabian Ruiz would push forward from his deeper midfield spot. This fluid movement created a 3 versus 2 central advantage against Argentina's midfielders. And that right there allowed Spain's Paul Cubarsí and Dani Olmo to just constantly break the lines and bypass Argentina's press. But here's the kicker. While Spain's attack was relentlessly probing, their defense was an absolute impenetrable fortress. Spain conceded just a single goal in the entire 2026 tournament. Just one. That's the lowest total ever for a World Cup winning team in a single edition. Their goalkeeper, Unai Simon, set a ridiculous benchmark with 7 clean sheets. So no matter how much attacking talent Argentina had on paper, they were basically staring at a brick wall. All right, Section 4, breaking the Argentine defense. As we get into extra time, the late-game collapse for Argentina chronologically happened like this. Right at the start of extra time, in the 93rd minute, Argentina's Enzo Fernandez picked up a second yellow card and got sent off. So now they're down to 10 men, and the dam finally broke in the 106th minute with a goal from Ferran Torres. And the frustration? It just boiled over completely at the very end, with Leandro Paredes also seeing a straight red in the 126th minute. Let's dissect that actual tournament-winning moment. Following that first red card, Argentina's manager Lionel Scaloni modified their shape into a really desperate 5-3-1 formation, but it left a crucial gap. Look at the breakdown. Pedro Porro sends this dangerous cross right into the half space. Nico Williams times his run absolutely perfectly to knock the ball down at the back post, which catches the defender totally out of position. And finally, substitute Ferran Torres arrives just ahead of Argentina's depleted midfield line to bury a first-time shot straight into the roof of the net. Boom. Game, set, match.
Which brings us to Section 5, Passing the Football Torch. You really have to respect the absolute grace of Argentina's manager, Lionel Scaloni, in the aftermath of this brutal battle. He just plainly stated, they were better. That's the truth. It was a total concession from the defending champions, fully acknowledging Spain's absolute tactical mastery and control over those grueling 120 minutes. Now, what's really interesting about this next piece is the true human element. The defining image of the entire tournament wasn't a player lifting the trophy. It was this poignant, deeply symbolic changing of the guard. Right after the final whistle, with Messi lying just devastated on the pitch, one of the very first players to walk over and comfort him was Spain's 19-year-old sensation Lamine Yamal. It was the incoming prodigy embracing the heartbroken outgoing king. And guys, here is the unbelievable trivia that makes this moment feel like a sporting legend literally scripted by the gods. So, back in 2007, a young, rising star named Lionel Messi posed for this pretty ordinary UNICEF charity photo shoot. In those photos, he's bathing and holding a 6-month-old baby. Well, that baby was Lamine Yamal. No way, right? 19 years later, they met on the pitch to decide the fate of the World Cup. You literally cannot write a better narrative than that. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. With the 2026 World Cup officially closing the book on Lionel Messi's unprecedented era and simultaneously acting as the total coronation for Lamine Yamal and this young, terrifyingly dominant Spanish side, who will rise to define the next decade of world football as we look ahead to 2030? Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.